All right, welcome everybody to a really special video today. We're here with Justin Graham. You guys probably know him as one of the Kano players in this country that likes to go around to tournaments and ruin people's day. He thoroughly enjoys playing Kano, but he is.
I wouldn't say ruin the day.
No, but all jokes aside, Justin is one of the best Kano players in the country, in my personal opinion. I've faced quite a few of them and never one quite as talented as himself. So we really appreciate him being on the video today, and you guys can guess probably why he's here. Our spoiler card is a wizard card, and it is a wizard chest piece. We want to pick Justin's brain, figure out what he thinks about this card, and hopefully we can come to a conclusion based on what we know. But granted, we're filming this before 100% of the spoilers are out, so we definitely still have some things to learn about the spoiler season. Let's just hear, what do you think? What are your first impressions, Justin?
First impressions was not pleasant ones. After letting it sit for a bit and reading the card again, I think this card tells us a lot about what we're either going to get in this set or what we're going to get in future sets for wizard cards.
Okay.
And even without like anything else, just as is, no extra knowledge, it's a very good piece of null rune in the chess piece slot with an ability that in half the matchups that you're going to see, Runeblade, maybe Dromai because she has some arcane, Islander, or the Kano Mirror for me. The ability is not completely worthless, right? Like it can make your staff free, and depending on which one you're using, that has a higher or lower impact. Like if you're running Crucible, the ability is probably not like super amazing. But at the same time, if you're running Crucible against Briar or Viscerai if he comes back around, you'll still eventually get a free activation for your wizard staff for a Crucible, and that one resource is super relevant most games. Like that one resource, instead of activating Crucible, now gets to break your boots.
Right. That's very fair.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
One of the things I actually just noticed about it is, and it gives me hope if we get a Majestic weapon this set, or maybe a future weapon, this doesn't say once per turn.
Correct. It's an instant, right?
Well, yeah, it's not a once per turn instant though.
Right.
Like the rest of them are. So if we get a weapon that you can use multiple times, if you get 4 counters on it, you can just go weapon you for free.
Yeah. Double activation in the same turn, right? Because it's not on... Let's see. Well, for everybody at home, let's go ahead and read this card to people. The first time Alluvion Constellas prevents arcane damage each turn, if it has less than 4 energy counters on it, you can put an energy counter on it. So that means you can go all the way up to 4 energy counters, which is relevant for the next ability, which is instant. Remove 2 energy counters from it. That's the cost. And then the next staff ability you activate this turn is going to cost 3 less. So pretty much any of the wizard weapons right now are staffs, right? There's no other...
They're all staffs.
Okay, yeah. So that pretty much covers them all. I don't think there's any that cost more than 3. And it also has Arcane Barrier 1. And this is a chest piece, which I believe your best Arcane Barrier chest piece at the moment was just the generic
if you're Kano, it was Robes of Rapture.
Right.
If you were Islander, you had the option of
Heart of Ice.
Heart of Ice.
Okay. That makes sense. Absolutely. So being able to get all the way up to 4 energy counters, and you can remove 2 to activate the ability. It's an instant, but it's not once per turn like Justin was saying. So we can actually activate this twice in the same turn. But your weapon would need to be able to be activated 2 times in one turn, is right?
So with the current weapons, you'll never use it twice in one turn because there's no reason to. However, this does show that we either may get a staff that has a 4-cost activation.
Right.
So this doesn't make it free. Or we may just get a staff is not a once per turn.
Right. That makes sense.
Use it.
Or like you can do Kano things, right, where you can set up, you can play for a longer game, kind of block and set up some things, and then keep increasing the counters on this thing, and then play on your opponent's turn and then your turn as well, so that you can get that kind of 2 activations, you know?
It also means that you don't need as many resources if you want to do like a 4 attack, because that's one of our big breakpoints is 4.
Right.
We can keep 2 reds and make our staff free.
Right.
And still get a 4 attack.
And I think that's probably pretty big, right? Like
That's huge.
One of the biggest struggles in Kano and other decks the other wizard decks is that blue to red ratio, right? You're always trying to find the correct balance, and it's pretty difficult with how cost intensive they are. You play a lot of energy potions and these sorts of things to fix that.
I will say this does look better currently for Islander than it does for Kano, at least in my opinion.
All right, and why do you think?
She likes to run Kraken's Aether Ring.
Okay.
because she's not trying to play a bunch of spells a turn. She's just trying to chip through where she can and control you.
All right.
Or at least in my opinion, that's how I would play her. So a free Kraken's Aether Vein every few turns is big, especially since it replaces itself. So like right now, if I pitch blue, activate Krakens, they block with a resource, then they're just like, we both lost a card.
Right.
If they choose not to block it, they're like, I took one and that's it. But this is strictly he draws a card.
Right.
Like remove 2 counters, use no resources, activate the weapon, draw a card.
Right.
And like that's Islander with a 5-card hand and arsenal and boots up.
Yeah. So it can create some deadlier turns for a much less a less ceiling for how much resource you need, right?
It can, and it actually might convince Kano to play it in the low AB matchups. Like if you're playing against Briar, who doesn't typically have the blues to do a whole lot of pitching.
Right.
You can run this in Kraken's Aether Vein. So I can block out arcane damage while setting up for my wildfire turn, and then I go into your last turn, and which would also probably be my last turn, and activate this and Kraken you for 1. And now you have to go, do I waste a whole card? Do I waste a 4 attack to block a damage? At the same time, if I don't block the damage, he has a 5-card hand and an arsenal and boots.
Right.
Like, that doesn't sound pleasant.
It can get scary pretty quick. And I think that's kind of the big potential that Wizards always had, right? Is trying to figure out what they can accomplish on their turn with the cards that they have. Because it's such a setup deck where like you need to sequence things appropriately, and you need to potentially need to know some things on the top of your deck or what's coming, or you have to have an arsenal card that you save for a couple of turns usually to set up these kill turns through a lot of arcane barrier, and any deck that's going to reduce the strain on how much you need to set up, I think is going to be valuable in the future.
I agree. I think and hope that with the printing of this card, that we end up getting some low cost, high damage spells that affect both players.
Yeah. You and I were talking about that earlier. You presented something to me, and I was like, oh, that would make sense if they allow us to like actually ping ourselves with the same card,
without having to actually waste a card.
Right, but actually doing damage to your opponent still at the same time.
Yeah, because then it's worth it, right? Because then, like, even if it's like zap, but it hits me for 1, like that's still probably worth playing over actual zap just for this card. Especially depending on the weapon.
Right. I saw somebody mention Forked Lightning. I'm sure you're familiar.
Forked Lightning, you can choose.
Right. So like you like 1 to you, 1 to me kind of thing. Would that be something that you would consider playing if they put something like that in the game?
Well, so you can actually do that with Forked Lightning, because it does say target hero, not target opponent. So right. I can 2 you, 2 me, and just block the damage. I wouldn't ever do that with Forked Lightning itself, just because it costs 3. So like, It cost me 3 to play it. It cost me a card to play it. Then it cost me another card to pitch. But if they printed a cheap one that was just like, I take 1, you take 1, I probably play every copy of it they'll give me.
Yeah.
Just so I can use this chess piece. Because I'm actually a really big fan of the new wizard weapon as well that they showed in this set.
All right. Can you tell the people at home what piece you're talking about?
I don't remember the name of it, but it's a once per turn instant, pay 2, it deals 2, and if it's their turn, it deals 3, but you can only use it if you played a non-attack action this turn.
I think it's called Waning Moon, right?
That sounds right, actually. Yeah. So, something Moon. I'm a huge fan of it, especially if you know you're going into a matchup with either a low amount of AB or a low amount of blues, because it's a very consistent card, especially since most people want to go first anyway. So if you lose the dice roll and they choose to go first, you now can block with 2 cards, look at the top card, play the top card, and activate your weapon.
Right. Yeah.
So like, if your top card's a 1 for 3, you get to sitch them while blocking 6. That's fine to me.
Right. I think that's kind of where you want to be as Wizard, right? Is you're trying to get your opponent to like slowly whittle them down to where they can't present enough damage at you if they're taking damage because they've got a pitch to block or whatever, right? But you can also keep a couple cards to block the really relevant on-hit effects or really relevant damage that they're presenting to you while also still being able to do something on your turn.
Yeah, and like someone was saying earlier, this is just a bad red snapback on their turn because it costs 2 and you have to play something.
Sure.
And I do vaguely agree, like it does cost 2 for 3, which is something we normally avoid.
But not having to have a card for it?
Yeah, well, Kano's always had the singular problem of I need consistent damage. I can't tell you the amount of games where I went to the intern, I was like, I'm 1 card off.
Yep.
Like I'm 1 damage off and I'm out of cards. Like I have the resources, I got this blue 1 cost in my hand that doesn't do anything.
Right.
And then now we have a 2 for 3 to dump into it.
Yep.
Like, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
Right.
Now, obviously, I don't think in, like, if I'm playing against, like, I know he's gone, but, like, old him instead of Starva. If I'm playing into AB4 with Crown of Seeds, old him. No, I'm not playing the new weapon.
Right.
It
doesn't do anything.
I need the +1 from Crucible to touch you. Okay,
yes.
like
exactly.
I actually say that. I actually thought about the new weapon with it because you can let Crown of Seeds resolve, and then before your spell resolves, shoot them with the weapon. Mm-hmm. So now they have to choose, do I waste a full card on this blanket 2 damage to save my Crown of Seeds trigger? Or do I just lose the -1 from the Crown of Seeds damage?
Right.
Because most of the time
point,
it's
right?
non-hit.
Yeah.
But this card, I think, to see its true power, we're going to have to see a lot more cards. I do like how in the picture it does show him holding a one-handed weapon, a wand, and it looks like he has an orb as his other card in his other hand. So I'm hoping that's like slight hints that we're going to get a one-handed weapon soon, because all of ours have been 2-handed staves.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Honestly, at this point, I kind of want a beat stick. Like,
what we were talking about this the other day. What if they gave like decks like Ranger, like decks that really have to have like a 2-handed weapon, but it doesn't really do much by itself. What if they gave them like an off-handed weapon, but like a dagger or something, like? Yeah. But what if they gave you a gem?
One.
Yeah, one.
I want something I can run up and hit someone with. That way I can kill Prismors. All right, like
that's fair. That's fair. And with all the new with all the little new one power things running around, the ashes.
I don't like this.
They all have arcane barrier on them.
I'm like, wow, I can't kill these. Wow, I can't target. Wow, these have arcane barrier on them.
Cries and wizard. But yeah, so like your final thoughts, like on this particular card at this particular moment, on a 1 to 10 scale. Maybe rate it for Iyslander, maybe rate it for Kano, or just in general as a wizard card piece.
So, for currently, I think it's an 8 out of 10 for Iyslander. Just because you're going to see a deck that deals arcane damage at some point, even if it's the Iyslander mirror, right? And the fact that it says your 3 attack weapon, or your 3 power weapon, 3 cost weapon, whatever you want to call it, is free is huge.
Yep.
Like, because at that point, like, the way I have the Iyslander built, I run the Wizard Defense Reaction, and you get to run all the 2-cost blues that have weird hit effects.
Right.
So, like, with this card, you get to go free activate the weapon, pull a card from their hand, pay 1, activate the Defense Reaction. Your next thing gets +2, place Blue Scolding from Arsenal for 6.
Right.
So, like, for one blue pitch, you came in for 7 damage while blocking 4. And, like, obviously, I know that's, like, one of the best case possibles, right? That's not always going to happen.
Well, yeah, you're trying to look at what you can do, not...
But, yeah like, I would rate this higher. This is probably, excluding the boots for Iyslander, I think this is probably the most important piece of equipment. Obviously, Stormstriders will always be there because you need a guarantee, hey, I can play this Wildfire on your turn, right?
Sure.
Like, for the final.
Sure.
For Kano currently, I think it's a solid 6 out of 10 without seeing anything else. And that's just because, like, if you're deciding to run AB, like, because we don't need AB, right? We're not adding an extra piece of AB for Runeblade because we have it.
Right.
And since we're running the 1-cost weapon, maybe the new 2-cost weapon in certain matchups, it's not super huge for us. Like, we don't get the most value out of it. So without seeing easy ways to turn it on, like the cards we were talking about, or a staff that costs 4 with a dumb ability, I don't see it being super amazing because, like, I'm not siding in Nullrune 1 for Runeblade. I have Nullrune 1 on my gloves. Yeah, and then I have Nullrune 2 on my boots.
Yeah, you have plenty of AB.
We're there, all right? And for the Wizard Mirror, I would always bring this card in. I do think every deck needs it. Obviously, if you're just starting, it's not like the most essential thing because you're not going to run into Wizard Mirrors everywhere. But I do think every
Remains
Kano
to be
deck
seen for the new format.
That's fair, all right? I do think every Wizard deck runs this over whatever Nullrune they're running in their chest slot, if they were running Nullrune in their chest slot.
Okay.
And then obviously if those cards that we have discussed or theorized do get printed, then the valuation of the card goes through the roof. And if there's any card that pumps sources instead of action cards,
okay,
I think the value of the card goes through the roof. Because if you can pump Kraken's Aether Vein, it draws cards off of how much it hits for.
Right.
It doesn't say deal 3 or pay 3, deal 1, draw 1. It says pay 3, deal 1, draw that many. So if you deal 4 it, you draw 4.
Yeah.
That
would be absurd.
If you get to go pay 0, activate this, play a card, Kraken you for 4, draw 4. Yeah, no, that's.
That might be a little too. That might be a little too far out of reach.
I mean,
you got to keep that one in check.
No, I don't think so. Just make you all run Null Room like you should be. But yeah, currently I think it's a 6 out of 10. It's slightly better than average because it's better than Null Rune Robe, and it's better than Robe of Rapture just because it has a real ability on it.
Right.
But for Kano, he doesn't need Null Rune 1.
Exactly.
I actually probably do pull it in personally against like Briar or Chain's Gone, Viscerai. Yeah, right.
Chain's Gone.
Pull this in against Briar or Viscerai just because, like, on that last turn, that 1 free damage or that 1 free activation is probably super relevant.
Okay.
It says that I get to activate the boots as opposed to having to pay for the weapon.
Right.
So I can't count the amount of times I played against you specifically on a Rune Blade. Yes, I blocked Null Room all the time.
Yes.
It happens.
Yep.
We're going to pay for it at some point. And why not? Especially since we have the gloves, right? So like with your Thorn, I can pay 2 and block it and still get the counter on this. I don't have to use boots.
Right. Because you can AB1 with this and AB1 with boots and still get the counter, right?
Boots are 2, but gloves have 1.
Gloves have 1, okay.
So I can AB1 with this and AB1 with the gloves and still get the counter.
Okay.
And that's fine to me. That's like I'm adding a second piece. But most of those games like that, I don't get too many 2 triggers anyway.
Right.
And you're going to be coming at me more than 4 times with arcane damage. So
yeah, maybe that just means you're on defense just a little bit more so that you can set up for a better kill turn,
instead of hoping that I see Wildfire in the first 3 turns, I get to live a little longer and try to guarantee the setup, which is probably a more efficient way of playing as opposed to, oh boy, I hope I draw it.
I would definitely agree. Definitely agree.
But for Islander, I think the card's much, much better. Just because Kraken's Aether Vein is a card that almost everyone blocks. Mm-hmm. And if you get to go, I don't lose a card, you do, like, that's relevant.
Very.
Especially against the Runeblade decks, because how often do you like having a 3-card hand? Like, especially when it didn't cost me anything at all to get rid of your hand.
Right.
I
think I agree.
But that's just my evaluation of the card.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could be way off the mark. Someone could make some deck list without this card and be like, that card's stupid, then start winning with it.
When we made our tier list for Everfest, when we saw Bravo Star of the Show, we put him in Dark Horse because we didn't understand fully, what the potential was, and we were like, all right, if somebody can figure out how to break this seems really busted, but if not, then he's not very good, right? Yeah. But somebody found out how to bust him, and
we did the same thing down where I'm from in our little group chat. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's bad," and I was like, "You guys don't know how to read."
+2 Dominic Gogan is quite good.
I was like, "This is a problem," and they're like, "No." I was like, "No, Okanold's not an old him specialization." In my chat, just I see a bunch of ellipses pop across. I was like, "Yeah."
They're like, "Uh-oh." All right,
wait a second. I was like,
thanks for talking about this card. Is there any final things you want to say to anybody that's wanting to know about this or Wizard going forward? Anything shout-outs you want to make? Or
always a shout-out to you guys. You guys make great content. I always love playing against y'all. Y'all are always super good players. I hope you guys do great in France.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to see you there. You specifically better win this weekend in Vegas. You can't drop a single game.
Oh, okay. All right. Can't drop to Wizard at least, right?
No, you can't drop any games.
Okay.
But you definitely better not to Wizards after the testing. I will say I do think Crown of Providence replaces Skullcap for Wizards. It's only a one life loss difference between it and Crown. But a 5-card hand's a 5-card hand. And there have been many times where, like, I'm not even saying for the kill turn, because like there's no real difference between having the 5th card in your arsenal or in your hand for the kill turn. But like if you realize that you're about to die,
hey, a 5-card hand could bail you out.
That says block 2, draw a 3 block, because we only play 3 blocks in Wizards.
Right.
There's also the fact that the amount of times I peeked, realized I'm dead on top because the top card's bad. Like I see Nourishing Emptiness or insert card I can't play here.
Mm-hmm.
You can block, live through the chain, draw the card, and keep playing after that. Like it's obviously not best case scenario, but it's better than there being a card on top that you can't banish on their turn or your turn.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, that's it. I do love the card. I'm real glad you guys got to spoil it, and I loved y'all's video. It was great.
It was we tried for maximum cringe factor, so but
you were pretty well up there.
But we appreciate you joining us for the video today. Thanks for talking about this. I know a lot of people are going to be interested in hearing your thoughts on this card. We still have a lot more spoilers to see. You guys stay tuned for more spoilers. Keep checking back. We're going to try to make some more content on it when we've got the full list. We'll probably end up doing a tier list again, that sort of thing. But thanks again, Justin. Wish him luck in the season coming up here in Vegas, and hopefully he gets some more wizard cards he can use. So,
thanks,
guys.
Hope so.
Make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next one.